on the podcast from Borderline E-commerce. This is Tehseen, your host, and today I'm here with a very special guest with us because he has been requested by our audience quite a lot, and his podcast. I mean, I really like it a lot, and I wanted to have him as a guest on our podcast as well. He's the one and only founder and CEO of 𝐸𝐶 wins. And
Thank you.
I would love for him to introduce himself, and maybe then we can have some questions, and hopefully we can learn one or two things in the podcast as well. Could
Sure.
you introduce yourself a bit?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, first of all, for the invite. I appreciate it. So it's a pleasure to be here today with you and your audience, and to try to share as much knowledge as possible to provide value to your community around Amazon e-commerce and business in general. So I appreciate that.
Right.
And just to give you a quick intro about myself, so my name is Vincenzo. I'm the founder and CEO of 𝐸𝐶. We're a full Amazon brand management agency located here in London, UK, and we basically specialize on taking brands and scaling them on Amazon. So we help them from A to Z when it comes to the whole strategy in basically advertisement, listing optimization, a ranking strategy, the whole year when it comes to being successful and the things that you need to be successful on Amazon. And yes, so it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Right. Okay, so let me just start on from right there. So you said you covered it all pretty much from A to Z, let's say. So in the last couple of years, what has happened in the FBA space is that some gurus have come in and told the masses, "Hey, you see this product being sold on Amazon for $20. Hey, let me show you what it costs from Alibaba. That's $3, and tada, you can make millions of dollars right here, right now."
Yeah.
So let's have a bit of a nuanced answer to that. Okay, what does it take to start an Amazon FBA business, and is it any different from any other business, let's say, or what's special about it, and why did everyone start doing it?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think for sure in social media there is a lot of noise when it comes to what it takes to launch and successfully run an Amazon business. And I think it all comes down to, as you say, these gurus that they make it very easy to get sold and to sell courses and so on. Which, I mean, some of them are good, some courses, but the issue is that sometimes the message behind that is that it's very easy to do quick money with Amazon. I feel that is a misconception because I feel that comes from the era when Amazon in 2014 was very easy to jump on and you could basically sell a water bottle and make money. But those days are unfortunately over. I mean, right now you definitely need to focus on making something unique, and it's all around branding. I mean, right now when it comes to selling on Amazon, if your strategy is just simply go to Alibaba and copy paste a product by just putting a canvas logo on it and you name it that a brand and you send it to Amazon, it's going to be very tricky because first of all you need to consider that the same thought process that you're doing of going to Alibaba and putting a logo and sending it to Amazon, thousands of people are thinking about that. And I know sometimes people come to me and say, yes, I found this product on Alibaba and some manufacturers are selling it, but there isn't a lot of them yet on Amazon. But the reality is most of the time is that actually your competition is also manufacturing the product and they haven't reached Amazon yet. So then what happens is that you launch the product and 1 month later you find thousands of competitors selling the same thing. So that's why now, to be honest, when it comes to every single brand we manage and we've seen the success behind them, it usually comes down to having a unique offer in the market and being very specific in terms of the avatar of and basically the clients that they target. So basically when I say branding and product, a lot of the clients we have worked with, something that make it very unique is that they have something different in their product. It can be the design, it can be the utility, it can be the feature functionality. Some of them have even patented products. They have their unique molds, and basically what they have done is that for sure some of them selling competitive niches, but the key here is that nobody can go to Alibaba and copy it because it's unique, right? You have some protection in there, and you have done also some kind of a homework to make sure nobody can just copy pasted. So that will be the first thing for sure. Differentiate your product as much as possible. It's not just around the functionality. It can be so many things. It can be around the branding itself. It can be about how you prepare the offer for a how you bundle the product for your clients. I mean, there are so many strategies. I just would advise, please stop just going to Alibaba and taking the first thing that you see there, because I would say for sure that's a guarantee failure. That's the first thing, branding. And then I would say the second thing that I see a lot of people struggling when it comes to launching an Amazon business nowadays is that they miscalculate the amount of money that they require to do, right? That they require basically to make this business possible. I think a lot of people think that you could launch an Amazon business with $1,000 or $2,000, and it's very challenging nowadays. I mean, you need to think that it's not just inventory. We're talking about other miscellaneous costs that some people don't even consider, such as legal fees, accounting fees, advertisements out of Amazon, graphic designers, copywriter, maybe an agency if you decide to work with one. Then there are things that most likely are going to happen, such as returns of the product, maybe something to do with your manufacturing. I mean, there's so many things that if you think just 1,000, 2,000 is going to cover, unfortunately that's not gonna make it nowadays. So I would say first thing, make sure you plan ahead in terms of budget. And if your budget is low, I wouldn't say you can start selling, but I would choose maybe another method where you can actually test the how Amazon works but not risk too much capital. Maybe you can do arbitrage. Maybe you can do small wholesale with small brands that don't require you a huge MOQs, and then you can start understanding how Seller Central works, how to create a listing, things like that. But for private label nowadays, yes, I would say if anybody asks me right now, I would say at least 15K and up right now to make it even feasible. Yeah.
Right, right. So I think we talk about the same thing. I had a discussion with some of my audience members actually in live in person, and we were talking about the same thing. The days when we could just jump and go to Amazon, hey, and just start advertising, start
Yeah.
in 2017, 2018, you could start an auto campaign and make good money on it. Now
Yeah.
it's not possible, right? So things have changed quite a bit. That's what I would say. Okay, so one more thing is that now you went ahead and explained the process of what it's going to take right now. Uh-huh. Now, what I would say is the most of the audience members that have been joining us for the podcast are freelancers or agency owners that have their agencies and they try to help clients launch their products on Amazon, or they try to help clients maintain their products on Amazon, or other things, right?
Yeah.
So I would want to answer questions that have been received from them and not
Sure.
make it just what I want to learn about from you. So I would say, let's just go to the main question that they ask. How should one go about finding clients? And people even have terms like hunting clients. I don't agree
Yeah.
with it, but what's your take on that?
Yeah, we said the first thing when it comes to finding clients, first thing that you need to do, I mean, if we're talking from an agency perspective, like how an agency will find clients,
Hmm.
for sure you need to define first what is the avatar of clients you want to target to, right? Because if you try to target any kind of Amazon seller, that's a big mistake, because then if you don't design the processes that can be tailored to specific sizes of sellers. So for example, you are not going to use the same strategies and processes for a seller that's doing maybe $10,000 per month compared to one that's doing 1 million per month, right? Complete
Right.
different strategy, different sizes, and that's why it's very important that you define first what is the type of brands and clients that you're looking for. That's the first thing. Once you define what is the type of client that you're looking to target, then for sure is solar comes down to what is the how you want to approach this in terms of the team that you want to use around doing the sales, the calls, and finding these clients, right? So there are different methods out there, but one of the ones that been working a lot for us is like usually number one, type of way of finding clients is, for example, we do a lot of partnerships, right? And this partnership for sure comes out of added value that we have provided to these partners. But I would say partnership is a very good way to finding clients as a first step, because when you're getting started, maybe you can find partners that, for example, a graphic designer, right, that he does the images and videos for maybe Amazon sellers or e-commerce businesses. But then at the same time, the graphic designer doesn't know how to do PPC, doesn't know how
Of
to do
course.
listings, right? So you can come into an agreement that you basically help them find a clients that will require a support for images and video, and also the same vice versa, so you guys can support each other. That would be a very quick example.
Right.
The second approach, it would be around content creation, which I think this is the best one you can do. And this one is all around putting valuable content out there so people can see the value that you actually can bring to the table in terms of knowledge, in terms of experience. And one quick example of this, you can start with a blog, right? You can start doing a blog where you share your strategies, your insights about the industry, things that can definitely add value. And as people start seeing you more active into the blog space, then that can easily get a can give you a reciprocal effect on your business. So people talking about your blog, people sharing your blog. That would be one. The second one would be creating a newsletter. So for example, right now on LinkedIn, it's very easy. Anybody can create a newsletter.
Yeah.
And you know, if you do very nice content, there's a lot of people that will definitely enjoy that content, especially if it's for free. And then over time, if people get loyal to your newsletter, they know, oh, actually, this agency, they provide very good insights. You know what, I have a friend that maybe he's struggling with his business, I'm gonna recommend my friend to reach out to these people, right? So
Right.
you start creating that organic reach. And then it's not just it's not just blogs. You can do things such as, for example, a newsletter, as I just say. You can do podcasts, you could do webinars, you could do events. For example, events is a very good way to find clients. For example, going to events and having your stand or speaking there. I know sometimes this can be a bit more costly for some people because it requires a bigger investment, but
Right.
over time this is definitely a feasible solution to help you find clients. So I would say those are my main ones. Yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot of content creation. And the second one would be partnerships. Those are huge. Yeah.
Right, right. I think you gave a lot of things that are going to be really helpful for the members over here. And I think partnerships have worked the most for us as well over here. And what we've seen is that content creation and actually value addition through the content creation. That is the main thing because a lot of people hear the word content and they think, hey, I'm gonna go to Google, I'm gonna read a blog, and then
Copy
I'm gonna
paste.
repurpose it into a
Yeah, yeah.
post
Done,
and
done,
feel like
done,
an
done, done.
intellectual. So again, that may not be the worst thing. Maybe you
No,
could
no.
say, hey, I read a blog and I could repurpose it and say, hey, this is how I would implement it on a smaller business. Let's say,
Yeah,
agency, they only target 8 figure clients, and they
yeah,
wrote a blog saying, hey, how we can cross sell across your products and variations.
yeah,
And you
yeah,
could repurpose it for, let's say, a smaller seller, or how one might be able to implement it on a smaller catalog because a lot of sellers on Amazon do not have that big of catalogs that they can
yeah,
cross sell or upsell their products, right? So again,
yeah. I
to
would
value
say just another thing, because I feel a lot of people, what they do as well at the beginning, they do a lot of cold emailing or calling. I mean, that doesn't work, guys. Don't do that. You're easily gonna build a bad reputation. So I
yeah,
think, yeah, for sure, try to focus more on value and creating good connections, and being genuine, maybe documenting your journey, doing case studies. So
right, right.
over time, that's gonna for sure pay out. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so now I'm going to go to a topic that I've discussed with a lot of the fellow agency owners, and I've never finished that topic. Okay, remote versus in person. So there are some people in my community that they prefer in person. So for example,
Yeah.
my team is in person. I have my complete team over here at 1 a.m. in Pakistani time and they work in the US working hours. It's all right for them, but I prefer it to be in person because I want to have a connection with them. But there are some people who prefer to have a remote team, and they
Yeah.
say it's even better now. In terms of productivity or work-life balance.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm also a remote guy.
Uh-huh.
I'm the kind of person that I don't believe in offices. So I
Really?
know it's a controversy way of saying it, but I feel is I'm all about making sure my team is happy. And as I have discovered over time that if you make people happy, that's definitely gonna pay out in the long term of the way that they work for you and
Uh-huh.
the perform and everything. Because I feel like an issue I have found in the past with Office, and I come from that background. I mean, I didn't say this at the beginning, but my background used to be an engineer, and I used to also work the 9 to 5, and that's
Really?
one of the reasons what brought me to e-commerce. I mean, I had my engineering job, but I wanted to do money on the side, so I started
Mm-hmm.
selling, and then from there also the idea of the agency. So I know what is
Right.
to being tied to an office 9 to 5, 5 days a week, and not being owner of your time. And I feel like I'm more now a person that think it's all about the delivery. I don't care if you work maybe on Sunday night, but you didn't work on Monday, or you took Wednesday off, but you work Saturday. So as long as you deliver, that's fine for me, and that's why I'm all about giving that flexibility. And also, it's not just the flexibility and time; it's also about the cost. All the money I can save on office, I can use it for giving bonuses to my team. I can use it to hire more people, and then at
Right.
the end of the day, I find a better ROI. And the third one, just to conclude, is um time zones. So because we work with sellers across different countries,
Right.
I have found that if I have all my team in one location, then I'm gonna have conflict with some clients. So what I did is I have a team in Latin America, team in USA, team in Europe, and team in Asia. So that allows me that even if when I'm sleeping, somebody's up. You know.
Right, right. Yeah, I guess that's a good way to do that, right? Because at the moment, we have most of our team working over here in Pakistan, and we have some team members in the US as well. But we're all working in the US working hours because majority of our clients are from the states, and some of them are from the UK. But I guess they have to adjust to our time because they can
Yeah.
overlap as well somehow. Okay, so that's a good question, and that kind of leads me to the next question that I had for you. And the question is basically, what do you look for when you hire? So, for example, let me explain that to you. Okay, I have a lot of people come to me in terms of, hey, I'm trying to look for a job in Amazon agency, or
Yeah.
they're trying to kind of pitch it to me as well. If I can hire them. But again, I want you to explain to people of what a CEO or a hiring manager for an agency or in Amazon will be looking for two different positions. One is a senior position that you have as you're replacing someone, and one is a beginner position. What would you be looking for if you were to hire someone?
Yeah, we said the number one thing that's super important for any position this one will be is somebody that can be coachable, right? So I have found in the past people that they already come with the processes and strategies in mind, and that's fine. As I mean, I like actually when people bring new things to us because that's a way also for me to learn
Of
and to
course.
learn from things that they bring outside of our agency. But I would
Mhm.
say at the same time, for me, it's very important that they are open to learn new things because when somebody comes like a black box, and regardless of you giving feedback to them and saying, oh, this is maybe you can do it this way or this way, but they just don't want to change it because they have been doing it for 5, 10 years now, that sometimes can be an issue. So I would say
Mhm.
a person that needs to be coachable and is willing to listen and also learn from it. And the second thing that is very important to me is that they need to have very positive mindset. Another thing that I have found in the past that if you bring something that is negative to the team, that maybe is complaining every single day about issues that they have. I mean, you can complain once in a time. That's fine. But if every single day you're complaining that you're not happy, or I don't have time to do this, or this job or whatever. As long as you know you're treating them fairly and everything, and they still keep complaining just because they're negative, that can be dangerous because then that basically start infecting the whole team and everything, and you can for sure then feel the effect on the performance. I would say top two things is for sure somebody that's open to always learn and being coachable, and the second one is positive mindset. If I find somebody that is sometimes negative, that would be a red flag for me.
Right. I guess you covered it all with the general understanding of how one looks at, and how the person is going to have an impact on your team as well, because you have a machine that's working, and one wrong addition to the machine is gonna make it stop, and
Yeah.
you're gonna have to pay a cost for that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So one more thing that I'm very curious about that as well. What exactly is the perfect frequency of communication with clients? So, for example, some of the people who are here say, "Hey, now we should be talking to clients as frequently as possible."
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, I don't think that should be the case. For example, some clients don't really need an update every 7 days,
Yeah. Yeah.
or sometimes a monthly meeting is just okay. What do you think is perfect for you, and what exactly are the factors which determine what is the ideal frequency of communication?
Sure, I would say there's definitely needs to be some balance. You don't want too much communication, but you also don't want lack of communication. Needs to be something
Right.
in the middle. So I would say on a daily basis, it can sometimes even be damaging for the relationship because it reaches a point that if you communicate on a daily basis, if for some reason, which sometimes the task can be repetitive, like doing the concept optimization, everything over time, I feel the client might feel that you're not adding value because they already know what you do on a daily basis and they cannot quantify the value because every single day they
Right.
feel you're doing a repetitive things, right? So that can be also detrimental, which sometimes not the case. You are definitely adding value and you're doing a lot of work, but just because every single day you are not talking about creating new strategy, now they think you are not valuable, right? So
Right.
that's the downside of over communication. But on the other hand, I would say if you don't communicate at all and you stop any transparency, that's also bad because they don't know the value you're providing in terms of what are you doing with my account, what kind of value you're providing on a weekly, daily operation. So I would say a good balance. Usually on a weekly basis, we have a call with our clients. However, we also make sure that they can reach out to us 24/7. So even if we have a call with them once per a week, and some of them prefer on a monthly basis because they're very busy, so they say, okay, we trust you, let's do it on a monthly basis. But for
Right.
those who maybe they want to do on a weekly, we can do it. But we also allow them to have 24/7 access to us through a Slack channel, private channel with the brand manager, just to make
Mhm.
sure that if something happens, I don't know, a listing gets suspended or the account or
Yeah.
something that you want to have, somebody there with you. You
We've
can
all
have
been
that
there.
peace of mind. You don't want to feel like when Amazon support, like working with Amazon support service where you create a case and you are in the dark for 3 days. So
Yeah, pretty much.
you wanna give that chance. So I would say that is usually a good rule of thumb. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree on most things on that as well. So, going on to another question, just from this, would be when you report things. So, for example, hey, you can go to the meeting and you can explain things for them as well. But I
Mm-hmm.
just feel, in my personal opinion, that one should have a report that is as comprehensive as possible. Said even if you don't have the meeting and they can just see that report, they should be able to get all the answers. That's what I think. Because, in my opinion, in my experience working with clients that have multiple teams in their office, so they have to get that report and discuss it with other team members as well. And not everyone is going to be there on the Zoom meeting. So some people don't like it. They're saying, hey, your report is so comprehensive that it's going to take some expert to read that report even. What do you think? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I would say with reporting, it's also you need to find a balance because if you make it too technical, too many numbers, sometimes I mean it's good if the person is a numbers guy, but most people if they're hiring an agency is because they don't want to have too much
Right.
complexity going on. That's the purpose of
Mm-hmm.
hiring an agency. So I think report should be easy to read. Like it should be a report that a 15-year-old teenager could read it and know the basics and what is going on, like top level strategy. Then for sure, if they want to have some more deep insights, we can generate those reports on request. But I would say that the weekly report should be more something like when you're checking your bank account to see how much money you got and just the high
Uh-huh.
level stuff. That kind of feeling, because if you got too much in depth, most of the time it's not gonna add value to them because it can become very complex and some of them don't even have time to analyze those things. So I would say
Right.
usually that's a good balance. The other thing is one thing we do with other clients, we give them access with our services to a dashboard, basically that they can see everything like
Mm-hmm.
tacos, acres, net profit, all everything at the product level, everything. So just to make sure that if something that they want to know more inside out, they just go to this dashboard, log in with their account, and they can
Uh-huh.
see all the numbers from A to Z. So in case they want to clarify something, yeah.
That's actually a good one. And I would actually put you on the spot after this. And what's the software that you use to generate that dashboard?
Yeah, so when it comes to dashboard, we have a couple of solutions. So we've been testing a
Mhm.
couple of ones. So for example, one of them is being a Healing Time one. We also been
Uh-huh.
testing Songuru one, and we also in the past have tested a Eva one. So we've been working with those three amazing ones. And to be honest, we're gonna test a couple of other ones. And the reason why I like to test multiple ones, first of all, is because all these softwares are amazing, and I have amazing relationship with the CEOs.
Uh-huh.
So it's good to give a chance to everybody and test them all. So, but yeah, I think it's all comes down at the end of the day that the data is clean. So at the end of the day, most of them are gonna do the same. It's just very important that the I mean, in terms of how you want to present the data, maybe you like more the design of one, you like more the filters of other, and it comes down to preference. I will say at the end of the day, yeah.
I think we are with the same in that kind of thing because I'm a dashboard kind of guy. I like designing them, but I change them as often as possible. And I think I've done 4 or 5 different kind of dashboards designed with different tools, some custom built. At one time, I was even hiring an agency to build a custom one for me by getting an API license. We were getting our
Yeah.
own API license, and then we were going to build it. And then, after
We also
15
have
days,
that, by the way. We also did our own, so we actually also compare ours with there. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people in the space, at least CEOs, they like to have this kind of like working. Hey, let's try that. Which one is gonna be the best one? Okay,
Yeah,
that makes
I think
sense.
it's all about. I think it comes down to learning. I
Yeah,
always like to keep learning. I like to play with all the tools. I like to play with all of them. And at the end of the day, it's also for me to keep learning, get ideas,
sure.
and go from there.
You should definitely consider Scale Insights. They have great BBC insights in terms of
Okay.
analytics and trying to find out they just have the best dashboards. They
Uh,
don't have the best user interface in terms of some fancy user interface
okay.
designed by best agencies in the world, but they have great dashboards. Like I'm a
Awesome.
fan of
Good.
that guy.
Gonna
He's
check it out.
Luke from Singapore. Yeah, you should try it
Okay.
out. I'm a
Good.
fan. Like for example, I have different reporting mechanisms for different clients, and all of that aside, I have scale insights for each account because I just
Good.
can't work without that right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good.
Yeah, that's a good question that is going to be very helpful for the audience over here. Let's get a bit technical on Amazon right now. Okay, we've had most of the freelancing things or agency building things. Let's get a bit technical on Amazon. So in 2022 is gone now, pretty much.
Mm.
In
Yeah. Yeah.
2023, if someone wants to optimize their listing, what are we talking about? Are we talking about writing your title again, putting some keywords in, or what exactly is the comprehensive steps to getting a listing optimized for conversions in 2023? What would be your take on that?
Yeah, I would say the number one thing that is very important is you first understand how to identify the most important keywords for your product. You will be surprised, but a lot of people don't know how to do that and how to use the tools to actually filter the keywords. I would say first, make sure you learn how to identify these keywords. And the number one thing you need to understand is that most of the easiest thing to remember is that you want to focus on the keywords where your top competitors are positioning on page one, right? So you usually that's the
Mhm.
easiest way to get you started. For sure, you can go much more in depth, but that's usually the starting point. You want to analyze where your competitors are ranking in page one, because if they're ranking on page one, for sure that's where most of the sales are coming from, because the way you position on page one is by getting sales, and if you're getting sales, that means those are the keywords, right? So very
Right.
straightforward. So I would say that's the first thing. Then once you combine this with other strategies, and when I mean other strategies, it can also be, for example, identifying long tail keywords that can be a ramification of a specific variant of yours. So maybe you identify specific phrases that are long tail, they have a respectable search volume. At the same time, that describes the product very specifically, but the competition is low. So you also want to find those phrases. And then I would say once you design your whole pool of keywords, which I mean, there are so many ways of doing it in terms of filters. You can filter based on search volume, which is usually the main one, but there are other people that do it based on other criteria. It's really comes down to where you feel. I would say it doesn't really. It comes always down to relevancy. That's the number one thing for me. I would say for
Yeah.
sure search volume is important, but if you drive too much yourself based on search volume, you might find yourself targeting keywords that are too broad, too generic, things that
Right.
maybe don't really resemble with your pros. So that's why for us it's very important to also have some human touch in there where somebody really use their mind and think, actually, will this phrase make sense for my product or not, right? Rather than just base yourself on numbers. So once you design this list, I would say coming down to optimization, number one thing that you want to focus for sure is the placement of these keywords within your listing, right?
Right.
And actually, just before I jump into this, I forgot about something which is very important when keyword research.
Uh-huh.
Make sure you guys also consider secondary languages, right? So, for example,
Right.
for a
Right.
lot of our clients in USA, we do Spanish. In Canada, we do French.
Right.
Um, and so on, different countries also usually have a secondary language, and usually try to also find those keywords which most likely maybe you're not going to use them in the front end, but you can use it in the back end. Okay, now
Right.
going back to placements, number one thing is title. I mean, title is king here for sure. Make sure in the title that you also consider placement within the title itself. Usually the keywords that go on the left hand side at the beginning provides bigger weight in terms of organic ranking that towards the end of the title. That's number one thing. Within the title, you want to have your most important top five. If more keywords are within the title, try to avoid keyword stuffing. You also want to make it pretty to read and not
Yeah.
something that say phone case, iPhone, Apple, or phone case, and the same thing. It's like, no, make it readable.
Yeah.
Then after the title, I would say the number two thing, it would for sure be the search terms and the bullet points. And then as a last one, the A plus content for sure. Everything that you put in the A plus content, like the alt text as well as the images of A plus content, helps a lot for positioning. And a lot of things that also, to conclude a listen optimization, that is very important, is that you consider how you're targeting keywords in terms of covering the keywords on the listing. So you want to make sure that your top 10, 20 keywords, you have them as an exact match, because
Right.
if you have them as phrase or just broad, like not very exact the phrase, then you know might not have exactly the impact that you want in organic ranking. So for sure the top
Right.
10 20 keywords, you want to have it exact, and just try to, again, cover as many keywords as possible in your listing, but at the same time, guys, focus on copy. So sometimes we have even decided to sacrifice a little bit the keywords that we use in exchange of having a nice copy, right? Sometimes having 100% of the keywords doesn't mean you're gonna have the best listing, because it might mean you're gonna have things that don't make sense at all, phrases and way of combining it, and maybe being so repetitive on the 5, 10 bullet points. So try to avoid that. And I think yeah, that will be my final take. For sure we can go more in depth in terms of how you will do the bullet points and everything. I will say for sure the bullet points you want to focus on the first, you want to focus what on the issue that people is experiencing. Then you want to highlight what are the benefits and the solution you're bringing to them. Then how they're gonna feel with your product. Then you want to put some kind of guarantee, like how your product is gonna guarantee some kind of, if something happens, how the brand and the product itself is gonna be there for to back them up. And as long as you're genuine and you're definitely putting a good product there, I think everything else is gonna be much more easy. I think the issue with listings is that when you try to do a good listing but the product is bad, that's that's usually the trick there.
That's a
Yeah.
bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. One more thing. I think you explained all the keyword optimization and content optimization. One thing, in your opinion, okay, I don't want the facts. I want your opinion on this. How much of the conversion rate is going to be affected from the creatives,
Mm-hmm.
and how much is that part coming from the copy? Because
Mm-hmm.
I can have my friend who owns an agency. He's down just down the road, and he has a creative agency. And for him, hey, All that matters for conversion is the creatives. If I design the best listing, and if I he has an agency, a UI agency, and they just have a very good process of creating a listing that just converts like crazy.
Yeah.
So for him, hey, this is what I made, and this is gonna convert like crazy, let's say for him. But at the same time, someone who's a copywriter, he's gonna tell me, hey, all that converts is the power of my magic words.
Hmm.
What is your opinion on that?
I would say images for sure are much more important than copy because people shop with their eyes. And what I mean by this is when they see an image and you did a good job and they can easily connect with the image and see themselves using the product and the benefit. And you can easily, in a few images, highlight why your product is better. That speaks volume compared to text. And the reason for that is because we need to remind ourselves that people now they have a very short attention span, right? So people right now each day is less and less people that is it will read paragraphs and paragraphs, right? People want
Right,
something quick, and that's the beauty of also Amazon that they go add to cart or buy now and that's it. They forgot about it and they did the decision in 2 minutes with the images, right? So I would say
right,
images for sure the biggest impact. Text, don't get me wrong, is important, especially if your product requires a lot of um explanation of maybe technical
right.
things of the product or supplements of the benefit ingredients,
Yeah,
things
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. For sure the copy plays a role because somebody wants to read and see specifically the keyword and the phrase or the ingredient that will make them the peace of mind to take the decision. But products that are very impulsive, like maybe that don't require a lot of explaining, like if you're selling something that is home decor, right?
A hula
I
hoop.
mean, yeah, I mean, if you're selling, for example, the home decor, just to give this is the best
Uh
example for
huh.
images. I mean, what are you gonna say in the copy? You can say, okay, this image is gonna make you feel happy and it's so pretty and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, the reality is that if I buy a home decor item, it's because it's pretty to see in the image, and if you showcase in the image that it's
Exactly.
pretty and makes a good environment, that's it. I don't want to read that it's gonna blah 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 blah. You see what I mean? So
It's
it
gonna
always
build the
comes down to
perfect
the
home for
product.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we've all been
So,
there. We've all been there.
for sure, it's important for ACO, and it's always gonna be important. Don't get me wrong. You need to have a good listing. It's not don't look down on it. But I would say the biggest impact we have seen when doing split testing with our brands and everything, like we want to improve conversions and sales. Usually, images do bigger impact.
Right, right. Okay. And let's say we have the perfect listing, perfect conversions for the creatives and the copy, let's say.
Yeah.
But we launch and the first review we get is negative one. What do we do?
Yeah, yeah, that's a tricky one because it's difficult to get out of that because I mean nobody wants to buy a product that the first review is 1 star, especially if it's an expensive item.
Yeah,
It also comes down to the review. I mean, if the review is a 1 star and there is no comment at all, that's bad because people don't even know why people left a review, so that make it even worse. But if they leave one review, a 1 star, and the review is obviously a crazy person that's just complaining about something that doesn't make any sense. Like, oh, I received
right,
this product, and because of that, I couldn't sleep, and they bought a phone case. You see, it's things like that. If you because sometimes people complain about things that have nothing to do with the product. Sometimes, if those kind of reviews, maybe you can turn it around because people will see the review and don't really pay too much attention.
right.
But regardless, your conversions are gonna go down, your echo is gonna
Yeah,
skyrocket, everything is gonna be like very difficult. So you have two options here. The first option is try to outweigh the review by just eating the cost and the expenses. Or the easiest solution, which is what most people do, is just relaunch on a new listing and that's
right,
it. However, this is very important that you consider this if you relaunch a new listing, also take in consideration why you got the review, because if you got the review because honestly your product is bad, that is gonna happen again regard sooner or later. So if you got a bad review but it was with malicious intent, like a competitor or something like that,
right, right.
then yes, because most likely it wasn't your fault. But for sure it was your fault, and even if you create 10 listings, yeah, it's gonna come down.
Yeah. I think that is something that I just put my hands up. Hey, I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
Like I did all I could. I can do nothing about it. And now, for example, if it's $100 item, then it's a major cost to even get the inventory back, right? You're gonna make a removal
You need to
order.
relabel the whole thing. Yeah.
Exactly. That's a whole plethora of issues if you try to relaunch it. Like, for example, let's say if it's $100 plus item, I'm not gonna order more than 500. Like
No.
for the test MOQ, I'm gonna order 500 and see how it goes, and then go from there. So if I have 200 or 200 in there, then I don't have much stock to launch a new one. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to get the removal order right. Okay, so again, we're on the same page for that. Okay, we
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
have much to do, but we can do whatever we can and try
Yeah.
to make it work right. Okay,
Sure.
one more thing, and the question again would come back down to the same thing that you mentioned in the start of the podcast as well. That hey, it used to be much easier to launch on Amazon, and now it's got much harder and harder.
Mm.
So, what my opinion in that perspective is that it just gets a bit uh, the things which were previously optional, they just get necessary. So, for example, it's now necessary to craft the best branding and have the best listing optimized because hey, everyone on the first page is having it, so you
Yeah.
have to have it. And then you need to have the right structure for PPC, drive the
Hmm.
traffic on the most relevant keywords, of course. What's your opinion on the external traffic? Because where I come from, I think it's absolutely necessary now to be able to drive external traffic and not just external traffic in terms of, hey, I put an ad on Facebook, leading to the Amazon product page. I think it's important to have an external marketing perspective on things in terms of, hey, I'm going to have to raise some awareness about my product, whether that means a press release maybe or being featured in a good publication. So, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so the first thing is that yes, I mean nowadays if you do any kind of organic sorry external traffic, it can be challenging because if you try to rely too, I mean for sure you need to do PPC, that's for sure.
Right,
But if
right.
you try to rely only on PPC, especially in competitive categories, it might be difficult because the issue I'm finding with Amazon, the reason why it's becoming more challenging day after day is that we have found some categories that first page is already almost 80% advertisement
Yeah,
placements and just 20% organic. So it's basically pay to win. It's
you're
just
just
who
too
pays.
greedy right
Is
now.
yeah, yeah. So it's becoming very exaggerated in some keywords, and I feel like for some people it's really not sustainable to keep paying $5-7 per click in some of them, and the reason why some people has migrated externally to try to find traffic at a cheaper rate. Some of them even use the 10% referral that
Referral
Amazon gives for
bonus.
bringing that traffic, and at the same time that benefit you in terms of ranking because Amazon loves when you give them traffic, so they can keep
Yeah.
selling things to them, right? So I would say one thing that we've been testing with some of the clients is, for example, Google Ads. Lately, we've been partnering with Amped, which is a
Yeah,
solution
it's a great
that help
software.
you connect you with a Google Ads, and it's been awesome. Also, other solutions you can implement, such as, for example, we do a lot of YouTube influencers. So we basically
Mm-hmm.
find YouTubers that do unboxing, reviews, top 10 phone cases, top 10 water
Right,
bottles, as an
right.
example, and they mention your product and send it your way. We have also tested, for example, TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say at the end of the day, all these are amazing solutions, but it's always also going to come down to your type of product. Some product might not work well for external traffic because if it's gonna be a product, right, that you need to think a lot in order to make the decision to purchase it. So for example, you're selling, I don't know, furniture, right, or desk on Amazon, things like that.
Right.
It's like it's difficult that I'm gonna be on TikTok seeing somebody dancing and then I'm gonna spend $200 on a desk. No, it's not
Not
gonna
gonna
happen,
happen.
right? But if it's something like a fidget spinner, that's a $10 item, then yeah, I
Right,
mean
right.
it's an impulse buy. So that's why you need to consider what is your type of product, also where your audience is located, because sometimes if your audience is very young, then TikTok would be amazing. If your audience is more middle age to towards end age, then Google will be great. So it all comes down to that, and putting that on a filter to understand what is going to be the best outcome.
Got it, got it. I think that's, yeah, you made it properly because, at the end of the day, you have to understand your niche, you have to understand your target audience, and what kind of a traffic is actually going to convert instead of just saying, hey, I bought cheaper traffic from outside, right?
Yeah,
Because if it doesn't convert, then there's no point in doing that, right?
for sure.
Okay, with that, I have completed all the questions that I got from the audience members, and I really appreciate you coming over here and answering all the questions. And I think, what time is it over there at this point?
Right now it's 9:50 in UK. Yeah,
Yeah. So
PM.
again, I'm sorry for keeping you out. At the end of the day,
Don't worry,
you could have gone out and had some fun today as well, but you were
it's fine.
here and asking the questions. I really appreciate that. And if we have other questions coming in, we'll be asking you those as well. And hopefully, you could answer those for us as well.
Yeah,
Okay?
thank you very much for the invite. It's been a pleasure being here and keep sharing knowledge for your community. And as you mentioned, if somebody has any questions, feel free to drop them in the episode down below, and then I'm gonna make sure to even check them personally and answer them. If you wanna reach out to me personally, you can find me very easy on LinkedIn by using my name Vincenzo Toscano, Instagram and Facebook as well. Feel free to reach
Yeah.
out, and I try to answer as many people as possible to provide value. And that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, he's
It's
very
been a
easy to
pleasure.
find on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.